Welcome everyone to another AMA of ours, a LinqAI. I hope you can all hear me. If you just give a little wave, if you can hear me talking loud and clear. And on this AMA, we've got Mr. J from AM87 from Messier, who we've done a couple of AMAs with before, who probably needs little introduction. And we have Maria from Weaver Labs, one of our newer partners. Both projects are building some really interesting stuff in the space. So we thought we would have a co-AMA with both of them, so they can introduce their products again. M87 probably needs less of an introduction due to the length of time we've been partners, but be good to get Maria up on the stage and explain about what Weaver Labs are doing as well and any latest updates. So without further ado, Maria and Jay, welcome. How are you guys?
I'm great, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Maria, can you hear us all right?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you well. I'm great, and thank you so much for having me, and excited about this new partnership.
No problem. No, great to have you here. So as obviously you and I have been on many AMAs together, I think what I'll do is I'll hand the floor over initially to Maria to sort of introduce herself, a bit about herself and a bit about Weaver Labs, and we can go from there and what you guys are working on.
Fantastic. Well, a little bit about myself. I'm a telco geek. I am the weird person in the planet that finds infrastructure and telecommunications quite exciting. So what started wireless communications ended up being 5G, and then ended up doing a bunch of research in university about who the hell needs 5G and why on earth should we be even investing in it. So ended up in an innovation lab doing all sorts of really cool things and trying to understand how connectivity can actually change industries and can drive innovation across multiple different verticals, and how, software-based networks, and I can get a little bit more into what does that mean, can actually unlock connectivity in a much more affordable way than classic way of delivering connectivity. So out of this innovation lab, we created Weaver Labs, and in Weaver Labs what we do is we create CellStack, which is a software product that allows to very easily deploy and manage 5G networks or any type of networks. We're very heavily concentrated in 5G, but we are actually network agnostic. And what CellStack does, it allows to deploy and manage the network. So use the software for managing all of the infrastructure, but it also allows to offer that infrastructure as a service. And there is where kind of like the Web3 angle comes in. And it's like, okay, so I have all of these telco infrastructure that I have built. I put CellStack on top to manage that infrastructure, and then I can open up that infrastructure as a service using our software and basically join and integrate infrastructure that belongs to different players. So essentially the problem that we're trying to solve in the market is the lack of incentives to invest in telco infrastructure across different vertical industries or remote areas, for instance, and create a software that acts like a glue of all of this distributed ownership, and put in a blockchain layer to create a decentralized way of accessing this infrastructure as a service. Hopefully that was clear.
It was clear, whether many people managed to compute what you were saying there. But so, I mean, look, as far as technology is concerned, if everyone cast their mind back sort of 4 years, people got into the Web3 space because of the sort of love of the technology and the freedom that decentralization sort of brought to the space. Now, not so much, with sometimes some of the people in the space are being attracted to just purely from a monetary value. Obviously, you guys haven't got am I right saying you haven't got a Web3 token per se at this stage, but you are in Web3, which is unusual.
Yeah, we do have a token, it's just it's not listed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's purely a utility.
Okay.
So we do have a Dino, which is a token that it is used to transact with value in the blockchain network, which essentially now our kind of like marketplace is hosted in Ethereum. But yeah, so we come into the industry in a very different way, I would say. For us, blockchain solves a problem of creating a transaction between two untrusted parties. And then everything else that has been, created around the industry, issuing tokens for fundraising and not really being the utility within the network, but more like a way of growing a community has not been the way that we have gone about it. Essentially because we've come at it from more like a research perspective as well. And obviously with the idea of this becoming adopted by the telecommunications industry. So for us, it's a much slower game where we want to understand really, really well how this new economic model of tokenizing a telecommunications asset, offering it to another company to carry on their services is going to work before we do this kind of like live and with consumers or the retail investors owning that token.
Amazing. And I guess you guys have you had much uptake? How long have you sort of been at this recent stage with regards to so do you offer it to the retail customer?
So we've done a few pre-sales, but it's very, very kind of like low percentage of the whole token.
Sure.
Yeah, it's very, very low percentage that we have done in terms of public sales. And it was just to involve the community in what we are doing. But most of the tokens haven't been minted yet because we have kind of like a more just-in-time approach. They are just mined as the network requests them and requires them. And in terms of telecommunications partnerships or usage of the token in general now, it is more on the trial space. So how do we use the token to address multi-tenancy across different applications and layers of operations in the network? And we do have some partners that are using this, but it's all very early stages.
Amazing. Well, I've got a few questions for you based from prior research and from what you just said. But what I'll do in the meantime, so you can refresh your notes, because I'm gonna try and catch you out. No, I'm joking. We'll go over to Jay and just drag him into the conversation. So just briefly, Jay is from M87, utility a utility DAO / doing everything in the space is how I fondly look at M87. I'm looking at sort of six different products that they offer to people in their ecosystem. So Jay, do you want to give us I know you've been on here those times, but do you want to give us just a very quick rundown, also be useful for Maria also to get an understanding of what you guys are doing, and then maybe slide in a few cheeky updates there as well?
Yeah, man, not a problem. So, yeah, we like to refer it to as like an ecosystem, right? Like we have our M87 token, which is behind everything, and the Virgo DAO is like the Virgo DAO system is behind like the backbone of the entirety of the ecosystem, right? But from that, we offer a large number of products and dApps and stuff, right? So just briefly, our Virgo DAO ecosystem, it's like the first fully automated, decentralized autonomous organization. Basically, everything's handled and run through smart contracts. The DAO collects utility fees from all of our connected dApps, which directly manages the revenue for strategic investments and future buybacks and burns of the M87 tokens. The people who are staking the top 87 stakers have the ability to vote on proposals to invest in other companies or projects, and then the rest of the stakers have an opportunity to vote whether or not to go through with that or not. That's the essential of it. We do also we have an NFT situation, utility NFTs, which also generate additional rewards for the people who are staking and who own them. It's like an extra 0.87% on top of the initial 12.13% DAO rewards that are offered through investments from the Virgo DAO. We have 110 of those. We also have our own marketplace that was built to trade these back and forth. One of our dApps, we'll just go down the list. We've got OpenHatch, which is available on Web3 and Telegram. Basically, it enables P2P transactions for real-world assets and services. It's a safe and easy way to trade by holding buyer payments in decentralized escrow until the seller confirms delivery or service upon completion. So basically, guaranteeing that both parties will receive what they agreed upon. It's a very useful service. The next we got is Horizon, which is the first compliant ZK Snark anonymization service on Web3 and Telegram. It provides full anonymity for untraceable token transfers without needing a wallet connection. So operating within government approved frameworks, it's perfect for projects, KOLs, and whales who want to private yet fully compliant transactions. It was developed by us, but it was also verified by the leading auditor, one of the leading auditors, Bayosin, Tom. Next, we've got the AI GPU node marketplace. Basically, we have a lend and rent platform that helps server owners turn their unused GPU power into USDT. So for renters, it provides highly competitive pricing by removing the high operational costs associated with traditional GPU providers. The AI algorithm that we're using intelligently aggregates and matches the available GPU resources from lenders with demand from renters, which creates a decentralized managed GPU marketplace for everyone. Well, that's exciting. The next thing we got down running is Ad Astra, which is kind of a crypto wallet, but it's not really a regular crypto wallet. We designed it to be a complete all-in-one payment app and point of sale solution. So it was designed to be like with you everywhere on your phone. You can easily handle every aspect of your crypto finances. So you can do like private cross-chain swaps. You can use NFTs. You can use regular bank payments. You can pay your bills. You can even accept payment requests. You can also enjoy the flexibility of spending crypto anywhere with we have these virtual as well as physical crypto debit cards. You can download the app today from Google Play or the Apple App Store. Just check out the Ad Astra M87. The two biggest ones that we've got right now that we're really hyping up is the P2P exchange, which we're really proud of it. We launched it back in like November, and it's come a significant way, right? The exchange basically we're trying to take P2P swaps to the next level, right? So it's fully on chain. The idea is it removes MEV risks, it removes token taxes and slippage issues. So with the right tools and active market makers, we ideally designed it the way that we thought that P2P trading was supposed to work. So basically it allows the user to be in full control of their trades, right? You can create your own orders at a set price. You can trade at live market rates. You can even trade a percentage above or below the market rate if you want. You can choose have your orders fulfilled by a single buyer, or you can get them filled faster by multiple buyers through our multi-swap execution protocol. We also have leverage stacked P2P pools, which combine smaller orders to create larger ones. So this kind of attracts whale buyers and ensures that your order gets filled. We also just initialized vesting swaps, which we can do locked or linear vesting. So the idea is for strategic token releases. So it's ideal for projects offering discounts to attract new long-term holders without immediate sell pressure. You know what I mean? So like if you have a KOL you want to promote your token launch or something, but you want to have a vested token distribution over time, you are able to do that through our P2P swaps without having to go through like several different third parties. It could all be handled on one application. We also have the ability to conduct specially discounted private OTC deals between two parties, which keeps them off the public marketplace. These all are very like ideal for not affecting the chart of the project or the token in general, right? The ideas behind it is that you are able to keep the chart at the same, and you don't have to worry about selling and buying affecting the chart. So the holders stay. That is really incentivized for one of the reasons we had it behind was if it was a big whale who was heavily invested and wanted and still believed in the product. But, as we know, everybody, needs to take profits or needs to, cash out at some point in time. And so the idea was instead of offloading it all onto like a DEX or something and just like crashing, if you have, say 5% of the entirety of the token thing and you don't want to just heavily crash it, you can offer it on P2P swaps, and that way buyers can buy it and you can reap the profits at market rate. However, you're not, negatively affecting a chart, which I think is one of the great things. And the last one that we're dealing with right now is our brand new thing is the Innovators Hub. The idea is if you have an idea, the Innovator Hub turns our top voted community ideas into real Web3 products. So each quarter we select one idea and build it with our team. So the original proposer, who has to be a staker, earns 30% of all future revenue once the app is developed and online. The remaining 70% flows back into the Messier ecosystem, so it goes back to funding our Virgo DAO treasury. Basically, so you submit your idea, it gets voted on, which is gasless. We build it, and you earn from it. We are just, I believe, in the last day of the first round of this, actually. So today is the last day. So if anyone's interested, pick up a couple of tokens, stake them on the thing, submit your proposal, and we'll go from there. That's basically all it is. In terms of updates, basically we're looking at, we just recently, earlier this month, released our P2P swaps alerts. bot. So now we can have alert bots for that. It's a new look and a new feel across the Telegram groups that we've got. The alerts are now sent directly on X, so it puts your orders in front of millions of traders searching for their favorite tokens. So this is actually a pretty big step for us. And then the other really cool thing that we've introduced is smart DEX routing. So for the P2P, smart DEX routing is a upcoming feature. It's activating once the DEX fallback option is enabled and the countdown has ended. So from there, the SDR or smart DEX routing scans the market using our advanced DEX aggregators. These aggregators analyze around 90% of all major DEX liquidity pools, comparing prices across multiple platforms, and automatically source the most competitive liquidity to fill the order. So by combining P2P liquidity from users and partners with the deepest liquidity across major DEXs, the P2P exchange gains a significant edge over traditional DEXs that rely only on limited pools and single source liquidity. So we're trying to combine the best of two worlds to add value, which helps users get more tokens for their money in every deal. That's a lot of mouthful, but that's basically your rundown.
That is some intro there, mate. But as always, very well delivered by yourself, sir. So thank you very much for that.
No problem.
And rounding off the trio, I'll just give a quick update on what we're working on, because for those of you who have been with us for a little while now, we started off developing agentic frameworks way before agents were even considered to be cool and the thing, and before all these other projects exploded out of nowhere and just bolted the word agent onto the back of whatever they were doing. Not in the least bit frosty there at all. But so we've built a few apps on. If you go to LinqHub on our site, you'll see the likes of marketer, designer, creator. These are all sort of tools and utilizing the large language model frameworks in order to sort of generate some useful business and recreational tools. However, recently, or for the last sort of 4, 5, 6 months, we have been working on a decentralized compute platform. We've highlighted this as being a very useful base layer for us to exist in the Web3 space, and solving the chicken and egg problem with decentralized compute marketplaces is not only providing providers but also requesters. So Link Protocol is kind of building like a new decentralized cloud computing network. Think of it like a community-owned version of AWS or Google Cloud. So again, in this space for those sort of decentralized reasons, and being excited about that. So sort of instead of relying on large corporations, Link allows everyday people and businesses to rent out their unused computing power and earn rewards in crypto, specifically LNQ. This token powers the whole ecosystem. It's used for paying compute jobs in a wrapped version of it, so that'll be WNQ, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But that secures the network through staking and decision making, which is also the VE LNQ, which is a governance, kind of like an NFT voting token that will exist in the future. The whole point, I'll explain in layman's, we've released a light paper on Link Protocol that you can read. It's on the website, which goes into a lot of depth of how the protocol will work and operate. And then just about maybe 20 minutes ago, released the new tokenomics paper update, which it's been sort of 3 to 4 months in the works. It is a heavy read, if I'm honest. It's very, very thick. It's very maths intensive. So with regards to Link Protocol, the tokenomics paper has been put out. It is a heavy read. We will be stripping out loads at each section individually and explaining it in more layman terms. It is so heavy that even myself in the project struggles to sort of understand some of the in-depth mathematical sort of formula used for the tokenomics update. But so with that in mind, I will be stripping back a lot of the more technical terms and laying them out in a more simplistic fashion. Not calling anyone, less intelligent, but it is very, very heavy if you dig in there and have a little look. So the way that the protocol works is there will be all watcher nodes that will make sure that this sort of borrowing and lending system works well with the protocol. So, for example, Jay, you have, your sort of gaming PC at the lowest level that you want to free up. It just sits idle, let's say in your office. You can attach that to the network and provide that GPU compute. Also, it will also allow larger, nodes, and that's why we've partnered up with people like HashAI, because that will allow us to sort of provide more sort of concise, powerful compute over a shorter bandwidth and latency. So that's the whole concept of the system. Then requesters can request tasks. But for those of you who know companies like Akash and Golem, they do struggle with having lots of providers, not so many requesters. So we will initially start up with our own SaaS applications, and we will then offer this out to other Web3 products. We've ourselves are hosting our own apps and all our own processes. And I think we've saved something. I think it was our AWS bill was well over $1,000. So we're down to sort of about a tenth of that already. So we're already saving a decent amount of money. So I won't go too far into it because I think I'll probably do a disservice to the light paper and the tokenomics light paper. But please have a little look at one or both of those documents. And in the future, we will be stripping these back and explaining them sort of piece by piece. But it's months and months of development. It's hugely complex. It's cost huge amounts of money, and we're incredibly excited about it. Out of all of the things we've been developing thus far, this to us is the one. We really think that we're onto something here with regards to sort of this whole decentralized option for compute power existing in the space. So that's our latest update for specifically with the tokenomics. We are having chats with Arbitrum as well, because that is where our wrapped token will exist on their L2, which is also highlighted in the tokenomics light paper. Sorry. So from us, that's probably a very fast and sort of condensed version of what we've been doing, but we're incredibly excited about it. And so I will now go back to you, Maria, because I feel that the boys have had lots to say, and I want to ask you a little bit more, if I can, because I know you touched on it, but remember, you have a PhD. I do not have a PhD. So if you could just maybe sort of, for me, explain CellStack a little bit, sort of like strip it down a little bit more so I can sort of fully grasp what it is.
Absolutely. Let's just start, from the very beginning, which is telecommunications infrastructure, and then I can go up the stack into CellStack. So typically you have telco infrastructure that is normally built by service providers, right? So the ones that sell you the SIM cards, the one that sells you the broadband connectivity at your house, they typically own the assets that carry the bits and bytes the data that go through the network, right? And obviously the supply chain is quite complex, but let's assume that the majority of that infrastructure is owned by these players. So there are kind of like obviously centralized decisions of where this infrastructure goes and then who gets access to these connectivity assets. And there is where then you end up having problems of, coverage in massive stadiums or shopping centers, or even there actually 1/3 of the population is still uncovered, right? Rural areas and things like that. But also it generates the problem of, enterprise networks not having access to the latest cellular technology, because obviously there is not such a business case for large telcos to invest in this type of networks. Obviously you do have your Wi-Fi networks and other stuff that does cover the enterprise market, but it's not as robust in order to deliver the level of innovation that some of these industries would want to have. So that's kind of like the kind of like state of affairs of the telecommunications industry. And then where we come in is with the software layer that kind of like solves that problem by allowing other players to build their own telco infrastructure. So for example, an office building, a hospital, a stadium, a community, they can build their telco infrastructure, and using our software, they can open it up to service providers to use it as a service. So what that means is that you create infrastructure that is neutral, very much like AWS builds infrastructure to be used by other companies, right? So this is exactly the same. I equip my building with a load of telco infrastructure, but I have no interest in becoming the operator of that infrastructure. So with our software, what you can do is join that infrastructure together, kind of like create a network of networks, and offer it as a service to service providers. So what it means is that you can distribute the ownership of this highly specialized telco infrastructure and create kind of like a marketplace of assets that then service providers can use to deliver services on top. So for instance, if you think about a stadium, the stadium can build the network, And then the mobile network operators can use that infrastructure to provide services to their users when they are on the stadium. But once they leave, they don't need to have access to it anymore, right? So it reduces the ownership cost, the capital costs. It distributes the infrastructure investment costs across a larger number of players. And it obviously enhances it unlocks innovation across the different industries. So what CellStack is, when it comes to the more technical terms, it is a network orchestrator. So what it does, it's a software layer that sits on top of this telco infrastructure. It has agents that hook into it, the switches, the servers. It communicates with it so that then you can create the routes between, say, distributed islands of connectivity. And it can also allow to deploy applications. So very much like any compute type of platform where you are going to then deploy a container, deploy a VM. So most of the network assets are sitting in software, in pieces of software. But then obviously we can integrate satellite assets, IoT assets, 4G, Wi-Fi, you name it. But we're also very focused on cloud-based 5G type of deployments as well. So yeah, kind of like in a nutshell, that's what we are. And obviously where we want to go is to become this very large marketplace of assets where this whole industry or this whole ecosystem is driven by a decentralized economy, where you can have, players that are contributing with infrastructure and then service providers that are using this infrastructure in a shared way. So then obviously it becomes cost effective, it's a lot more scalable, and it drives other definitions of value, not just the ones that the mobile network operators want to bring on their own commercial interests, basically.
I have questions. I have many questions. So essentially, crudely, am I right in saying it's like a software efficiency upgrade that you deploy onto existing hardware infrastructure?
Yeah. It's a software, yeah.
And you allow them to basically, okay, so are we talking like 5G towers and things like that, or?
Yeah, servers.
Or sort of server-based stuff?
So most of the 5G logic is running on servers very close to the towers. Okay. And then, so the way that a 5G network is kind of like, the architecture is kind of broken down in two main pieces. The first piece is called the radio access network, which is the part of the network that is closer to the tower. A tower is just an antenna, which is a passive element. It does not carry any software. But the radio unit, which is where all the software is running, that is accessible. That is software that has APIs that can be communicated with. It runs on a Linux machine. And then obviously we have the servers that are sitting next to that and carry all the protocol stack. That is the logic of the 5G radio access network. And then you have the core network, and the core network is the gateway to the internet. And that typically runs in data centers. So our agents most often sit close to the core network and communicate with the radio access network via internal networking. So yeah, very much sits within the premises of the network.
Nice. Okay. I'm surprised that but if it's software, I'm surprised that the large sort of providers haven't looked to sort of acquire your software just in general to make them more efficient.
Yeah, so telco, right? That with any industry that it's ruled by incumbents, they think that they are innovative enough, but they're clearly not. There are a number of players that do more, like do network automation and leverage these type of technologies or standards to improve their operations. There's like Wind River and Rakuten, VMware, IBM, very large players that operate in the space of where we are, but they don't look at it from the perspective of multi-tenancy or sharing that infrastructure. They still look at it very much from the perspective of ownership tied to the service provider. So where we really come in is saying, hey guys, service delivery does not need to mean capital ownership or ownership of the assets. Again, very much like hyperscalers did, or you guys, you offer compute so that others can use that compute. They don't need to own it. So this model is exactly the same, but for networks. So obviously, because telcos are so closed and they do not have the mindset of tech companies that you build to scale, most of their investment is in capital, and they believe that their assets and obviously their worth is based on how much assets I own and how much infrastructure I own. Whereas it's a no-brainer that something like this would make them a lot more efficient and a lot more cash efficient, I would say.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I mean that's a very concise rundown. I've got a decent understanding now. I've been looking at your site as well for the success stories, which does help explain. But yeah, very very interesting. Jay, I mean, before I attack you with questions again, have you anything for Marie at this stage? Is this your first sort of like exposure with Weaver?
This is 100% my first exposure with Weaver. This is also my first exposure with anything related to telecommunications. So a lot of this is flying right over my head. And I'm listening and nodding my head, but really I'm glad that you understand. I get like the idea behind it, and I think it's great. I was like, the ins and outs of the technicalities are beyond my simple Canadian brain.
Well, and I just say I understand. I don't actually understand. But what I do understand is the Kubernetes stack that you're building is like, I'm going through the stack that you use and some of the terminologies and some of the things, which is exactly what our developers are using to sort of building Link protocol on. So I think that will probably be a discussion, actually, Maria, if you are the tech founder, my CEO, my co-founder is the tech guy. He was up all last night, so he's now resting. But yeah, that would definitely be a conversation to have, because a lot of what we're doing is the networking side of stuff as well. So that would be very interesting to have a conversation, I'm sure.
Yeah, we do all sorts of, automation of deployment of Kubernetes clusters, and then obviously then it's the orchestration of those clusters. We do that multi-domain as well. So there is one of the projects that we are working on in the UK that is called Joiner, which is a joint networking platform that aggregates telco assets that are distributed all across the United Kingdom. So you have assets that are in Cambridge, assets that are in Belfast, assets that are in Brighton. And with our software, you can literally deploy VMs or, Kubernetes clusters across all of these assets. So completely multi-domain, but everything belongs to the same kind of like management plane. So definitely worth a conversation. I think there are a lot of synergies with what you guys are doing and how we can help. And to your question, if I am the technical co-founder, I am not. I am very technical.
Yeah. Play it cool, Jay. Play it cool.
I am very technical, but yeah, I'm not a software developer. So there are other people in the company that are much better placed to have that conversation than me.
Okay. Amazing. Okay. Well, look, let's bring it back down to Jay and I's IQ level. Jay, questions for you guys. Now, obviously, every time I've looked at M87, I see obviously the myriad of things you guys do. But I'm going to put you on the spot now, because obviously I've used your P2P exchange, and in fact, but we actually benefited from your governance of you guys purchasing some of the LNQ token way back when.
Right. Yeah. We did a Virgo DAO investment with it, I believe.
Yes, exactly that. Right. So obviously I'm aware of the Virgo DAO investment side, and I've actually physically used the P2P. We did that before to offer some stuff on as a co-marketing partnership stuff. But the rest of, obviously I have not used the rest of your products. Which would you say you guys are, because obviously you have a slightly different approach. You guys have gone for sort of a spread. We're now sort of niching down in one area. Do you guys have a bias to which one you think has the most legs or the most users?
I mean, right now the P2P exchange is the one with the most users by far. It's like, it was something that we offered and we just developed, and once we deployed it, I think we were at over 150 plus partners that are on it right now. And I mean, if you can go to p2p.messier.app and check, there's like a tab for the Explorer. You can even check like the daily volume today is $65,000. but like over the past month, it's like it's 863,000. So we're like almost $1 million in a month, which is to me absolutely wild. When I started, like they came online with this thing in November, and I was like, this is a really awesome idea. This is like, you guys are, what you're doing, you built it and everything like that. And it was kind of iffy when we started because we were running based on, we didn't have limit orders, and it was a different UI looking at it, and they've revamped everything, and now it's running very smoothly. And you can check, there's tabs now, you can check through market, through pools. Just at the main page itself, you've got, we have like an AI assistant that you can ask questions about. There's all these things that are available that I didn't even notice when I was on there the other day. I was like, holy smokes, like this is really, I think this is our, version 3 that we're running on now. It's pretty good. I think if you would ask though, but this, other than that, the second one would have to be the Ad Astra smart payment system, right? Like it's the crypto wallet that allows you, especially combined with like the physical debit cards that you can run through, it allows you to just, live your life using your crypto profits more or less. So which I think we're getting a lot of good feedback from that as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably from a decentralized finance perspective, the P2P exchange is very, very useful. And if you haven't, give it a go. It's definitely a very smooth application. I haven't tried the version 3. When did you update that?
I think it was earlier this month, end of June, early July.
Yeah, no, I have to give that a go. I haven't given your version 3 a go, but I definitely use the version
honestly
3.
Check it out. You'll be mind blown. It's a lot better. You can connect your wallet, places orders. There's a Telegram bot application that you can go. It's all clickable. It's very nice searching. We even offer it through like Ethereum, Solana, Base, and BSC right now. So like we're just exponentially growing on this thing. The platform speaks for itself, and we're running as much as we can. Everyone who wants to join is able to join. Just shoot us a message and we'll put your project on there.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, look, I'm going to now ask Maria a semi-biased question because I'm in the UK. There aren't many Web3 projects who are also doxed in the UK. So Maria, obviously, you may not be based in the UK. I probably got this wrong, but it looks like the company is based in the UK. Is that correct?
And I am as well. I'm sat in Old Street, London at the moment.
Okay. I mean, I detect a non-UK accent there, though. So, have you been dragged into the UK? I'm kicking and screaming.
Yeah, I'm from Spain. I'm from Uruguay actually, but came here from Spain. So, but I love it here. So
that's a lie. That's a lie. Okay, fair enough. How have you found sort of, because the way we work, some we work in the development sphere, and some people, the way they look at Web3 is a little bit sort of up down their nose, but it's with a little bit of skepticism. Have you found any of that at all working where you work?
Yes and no. Obviously, we've been around for 7 years now. So at the beginning, it was all about, what the hell, like blockchain? What are you talking about? This is just whatever. All of these stories that we know. But I think when you have technical depth to what you're saying, the industry listens. And obviously we come from a research background and we understand what we're doing really, really well. So I think that science and technology backs what we are saying. Therefore, our partners and the stakeholders around the token really understand the value of it. Also, it does help that we didn't rush into any listing. We didn't rush into any tokenomics that is not really fit for purpose when it comes to an infrastructure project. So we've slowly built the trust in the technology by creating a really strong brand in the Salco industry. And we do a lot of, policy work and talk to government. So, I do a lot of work with Stand with Crypto UK and with Coinbase and others where we advocate for the importance of the technology that needs to be completely removed from the stigma of that it's a Ponzi scheme and things like that. So also I'm very active in conversations with the Department for Science and Technology that, blockchain is a transformational infrastructure technology that needs to be opened up into the science department and not so much, treasury and sitting in more the fintech type of environment, because it enables a lot more innovation outside of just fintech. So it's very much a work in progress. but I think we have strong allies on our side, Coinbase being one of them, bringing Stand with Crypto, and all of the fantastic companies that they bring together to all of the events, and obviously the strong political evangelization that is being done in the UK is super important as well. So yeah, I mean, we do what we can, right?
Yeah, sounds very, very credible and very, very sort of a honourable and sensible way to sort of break it down. You know, like I said, standing behind your tech as opposed to the sort of financial element initially. But I mean, that's how we pick all our partners, is based on some level of substance in some form, as opposed to sort of sniffing out the ones that are maybe less than desirable with their intentions. So I think that's very admirable to do that, and I think hopefully you'll help set an example for others to step across into the space, because as I said months ago, Web3 will only become Web3 if Web2 allows it to become that. So no philosopher, but still the whole point is that you've got to convert people. They've got to see it's anything but sort of Ponzi's and meme coins and stuff. So I think it's really important that sort of utility projects do form some form of a cohesive group to try and showcase the better side of crypto. So
like, if I can say a thought on that, is that I never say, Weaver Labs, we're a blockchain company or we're a Web3 company. We are a telecommunications company that happens to use blockchain to solve a problem, and tokens to it's a technology for us. It's a means to an end. It's not the end. And I think no company in the world describes themselves, I am a MongoDB company or I am a JavaScript company. You don't describe your company because of the technology that you're using. You describe your company because of the industry that is serving, or, the vertical or the problem that is solving. So I think that we should start treating blockchain as that. And if you are offering a service within the blockchain industry, that's perfectly fine. But if you are offering a service in a vertical industry and you just happen to use blockchain, then what's the point? You're trying to solve a problem of a customer. Just talk about that, and the technology should be completely transparent to that, I think.
So I will say, Jay, thank you very much for coming on again. It's always a pleasure to have you or someone from M87 on an AMA with us. Always excited about what you guys are building in the space. And Maria, great to be introduced to yourself and Weaver Labs, and thank you so much for going into so much detail and explaining what it is you guys do and what you will be doing in the future. And I think it'll be fantastic if I can speak to you after and maybe hook up someone from the technical side of what you guys do to nerd it out with our development side. I think there'd be some lessons learned there and some decent synergies.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that.
Amazing. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone for coming along and listening. Hopefully it was informative, relatively amusing, and if not, nothing else, not a huge waste of your time. So thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you on the next one.